Hi viewers, welcome to Silent Conversations with Miss Nkatha. I am your host, Miss Nkatha Mwenda, a nutritionist by profession, founder, Sober Living Youth Summit, chairperson, Graceful Youth Recovery Center, and today I'm excited to have an amazing woman. We have met her here before, and she's come back so that we can have discussions on women and recovery, women and alcoholism, women and substance use disorder, the stigma that comes up with it, how society perceives it. These conversations need to be hard so that people can know they're not alone and they can know where to seek for help. And so welcome to the show, Caroline Kagia, who's a global speaker. She's an addictions expert and she is a lived experience. Karibu to the show.
Thank you very much. And Katha, as always, it's a pleasure to see you. Looking good in this new...
Before it was with the hens and the
car
dogs.
and the dog. And the dog.
I think and that's what's called transformation.
Yes, from glory to glory.
Amen.
I don't want to say from grass to grace.
But we were on the grass,
But they were on
remember?
grass.
We were on the grass.
So this is different.
Yeah?
Yes.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're at the Herneria, which is a boutique hotel. It's in Westland. So you can pop in for lunch or you can stay the night. Have a conference. Yeah?
I'm tapping into this grace. It's got to be 2024. I keep telling people, if you don't make it in 2024, then you need to go back and ask your maker what's going on.
Yeah, because 2024 there's something.
Yes, there's something very powerful. There's something very... There's speed in this year. There's speed and there's acceleration for anyone who is keen. I say this now from a spiritual background. Like, you need to be... Your spirit needs to be in alignment with the Spirit of God. Because I feel a sense of speed and urgency.
Yeah.
Particularly in this year. And for anybody who taps into that, then there's a possibility that your dreams might actually materialize in 2024.
I concur.
Yes.
I concur. And when we talk about the matter, the subject matter, you notice there's a lot of focus on it as well.
Yes.
A lot of people want to have these discussions on alcoholism, on drugs. Just recently, the Ministry of Finance has released its tax report. And these drinks we keep talking about, there's some taxes have been increased, others have been decreased. I don't want to dwell so much on that because those products have caused a lot of harm.
Yeah.
And that's why we're having this discussion.
Yeah.
And when we look at those drinks, we're talking about alcohol, substances, the beers, the vodkas, in relation to women. Women scientifically are affected more, even physiologically, the way the body is made up. Then there's also the societal expectations, and there's also the moral factor. How is it, from your experience in Kenya? I'm asking you that because you're an expert in the field. You are a counselor. I know you're bound to confidentiality, so we're not asking for deep details, but I'm asking you, what is your take on the stigma or the shame that comes with being someone who has a substance use disorder, and especially a woman of any age? Yeah. We're seeing them at 16. We're seeing them in rehabs at the age of 14, at the age of 50. What is your take on that?
Speaking from a local perspective, I think the trajectory is very worrying. The numbers are rising. And these numbers have escalated, especially during COVID. And they don't seem to be going down, they seem to be going up.
Yes.
And that makes me think that in the African tradition, at least I know from where I come from, people of the mountain, women were not allowed to drink alcohol until their children had left home. Until you had finished, doing everything, your child has gone off, they have gotten married or whatever. So now at least you have liberty to drink because you're past that childbearing age and all that. But now, in this current dispensation, unfortunately, it is so worrying because from my line of work, the people who are drinking are mothers, future mothers, present mothers, caregivers. if a home does not have a woman who seems to know what she's doing, then that home breaks.
Obvious,
You see?
yeah.
We are the ones who are sitting at the counters in bars with our cigarettes and our alcohol instead of being at home. If you're married or in a steady relationship with somebody, a male partner, when you go for these chamas, there's boys' night out, and I've said that very specifically. There's boys' night out, there's girls' night out. So girls go and have their drinks. They forget they have kids at home who need to be taken to sleep. At least you need to see mommy before you sleep. But mommy is busy on the chandeliers in some club, somewhere in Westlands. You're free to laugh. And that is how worrying this thing has been. And the stigma is so bad that the name rehab sounds like you've been taken to a mental institution, which in hindsight you have not. And for me, I'm so passionate about it because I know what it means to be a woman who has struggled with alcohol.
Yes.
And by the mercies of God, I've come out on top.
Oh, wow.
Not all women who go through alcoholism are able to stand and come out. But me, I went out publicly, shared my story with the world, not for me to gain any glory, but first for God to be glorified through my mess. And as for me to stand out as a beacon of hope to those who are struggling, that it is actually possible to go through this miry clay of alcoholism and come out and start again.
Yes.
But unfortunately, many women, because of the stigma associated with it, I've said it before, there's this stigma associated with, if you're a woman and you're an alcoholic, you're a prostitute. I don't know how prostitution and alcoholism come together. I've never understood. But there's that interplay of words, which is very mean and very, very hurtful. But alcohol is no respecter of gender.
True.
It cuts across both. It's only that we as women
Yeah.
get affected more because of how God created, especially our reproductive systems, you know. For example, at some point, I was such a heavy drinker, using myself as an example. Before I went to rehab, there was a time I was drinking so heavily that I missed my menses for a whole year straight.
And it didn't concern you? You were not bothered?
I was not
because
bothered.
the
I didn't
focus,
care.
yeah.
Because I was like, even if it's early menopause, so what? I have no plan of getting other children. I'm
Yeah.
okay with my 2 children.
Yeah.
I was not on any birth control.
Yeah.
And that is how I know. I had a client who reached menopause at the age of 29. And it is irreversible. She stopped drinking, but it was permanent. She will never have children unless something happens. So the effects to women are very high, very worrying. There's also this trend that is catching up in Africa. It's been happening in overseas where they are using, laced tampons that are soaked in vodka and inserting them, you know.
Yeah.
When the tampon is semi-dry, there's also I did something on TikTok called vodka eyeballing, where you put vodka like eye drops in your eye. And you forget that you're hurting your retina and all other systems, you know. So there's a lot going on, but particularly with women, and I would say particularly with females who are middle class, going up, those who have the privilege of going to a certain class of clubs, they are doing a lot that will come to bite them sooner than later.
Wow, I'm in agreement. And it's not only limited to those who, because I imagine you're saying that because of the buying capacity.
The buying
But
buying
you'll be
capability.
surprised. We work in the community, and you know how addiction is. It doesn't care. You will look for that drink, and you will find it. And people are using all kinds. The drinks are crude, and especially in the low-income areas, most illicit, most adulterated. You know. So it's such a huge concern.
Yeah.
And World Health Organization also tells us, as we speak, they classified alcohol as a carcinogenic way back in 1988. And imagine, and because alcohol is legalized and it's being used as a recreational, let's call it as it is, a drug, It's a substance, it's a psychoactive substance. And because it is, it earns lots of governments all over the world a lot of revenue in tax
Yes.
collection. So you find many people are not really looking at what big alcohol or alcohol companies are doing. But that notwithstanding, we are saying women are affected, and so is everyone else. There's risk to cancers. World Health Organization is telling us over 200 plus diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can attest to that. Can we talk about what happens to women because of stigma? They isolate themselves, which becomes worse. Many women also end up losing their families, those who are married.
Yeah.
Then the alcohol becomes the priority. You have children, you neglect. I know of divorces or child custody battles that the men have won over the woman because she's not be able to be available as a mother.
Yeah.
So women do suffer a lot because of who they play in society.
Yeah.
What can we talk about the mental health status? Because you can imagine the stigma piles up. There's shame, there's isolation. You have a disease you're in denial about because you don't even know it is a disease.
Yeah.
What happens then to the mental state? There's a lot of depression.
There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of suicidal ideation.
Yes.
Which is also followed by suicide in the long run. Because for me, I tend to think that the reason the mental status of a woman who is struggling with substance abuse is higher than in men is because, first of all, you're being hidden. For example, if you're living at home with your parents or your guardians. Your parents, first of all, I don't know, between you, the user, and the affected, I don't know who seems to carry more shame. And more so on the church front. People in the church have a problem getting help for their significant others, especially their daughters, who are struggling with this thing because they say, what will others say about me? They'll say I was a bad mother. I didn't raise my child right. And you did. But, things happen.
There's so many factors that could
There are
have
so
led
many
to.
factors. For example, using my case in example, I mean, I have grown up in a Christian family. My folks were elders in one of the mainstream churches. But stuff happened, and I got into addiction, and I struggled with it for 2 decades. And I remember my parents were called names. As a matter of fact, my mother actually suffered depression for a very long time as a result of the same. And now the same people who are talking about me are the ones who are trying to pat me on the back, but me, I cut my losses and I moved on. And so this is why I appeal to parents that there's no shame in confronting the situation that your daughter is going through because, I mean, alcoholism is a disease. It's chronic, like diabetes. Okay? It may not be curable, it may be manageable. I've had people telling me I should stop saying that it's not curable. And what I mean by that is that even you in Katha today, if you decided to go and sit just somewhere in this building and have a drink, you don't know how far this drink will take you.
That's also, I thought I'd never have.
Yeah? Because you've had
I
a
don't
history.
think I would.
You've had a history with it, you understand?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
even if you've been in recovery for 20 years, 30 years,
Avoid it.
there's that risk of you going back. And so for women, it's even worse.
Yeah.
For women, it's even worse. For me, I would say, I mean, me, I enjoyed my drink. I even wrote about it in my book. I said if my shower was made of vodka, I would be showering 10 times a day. That hasn't changed.
Before you saw the light.
Before I saw the lights. I was having a conversation with my dad the other day about if I could become a social drinker. Then he tells me, but you don't even know what social drinking is because you were never one.
You were never.
Me, I was an alcoholic from the get-go.
There was
at
never
the age of
control.
19.
Yeah.
And so I feel it for women, and mothers really need to stop hiding their daughters who are struggling with these things sincerely. And I say this from the bottom of my heart because I've handled cases that are so bad, it's sad. Then your daughter, because you've been hiding her, you don't want to get her help. She goes out, gets a baby. The baby is born with a condition called FASD, fetal alcohol syndrome distress, where the child looks like they have something called Down syndrome.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
They look the same,
Fads, yeah.
you know. And then you, as the parent of that child that you are hiding, you start blaming God. But God, you didn't even put him in this picture in the first place. So me, I encourage mothers who have their daughters or their sisters who are struggling with alcoholism, seek help.
Yeah.
There is no shame in seeking help for your daughter, but there is shame in burying your head in
It's
the
true.
sand.
When you were speaking and talked about the church, what came also to my mind is other religions. I shudder to imagine what Islam, especially the women, go through. There's something called haram. It is banned. It is a sin, but it is happening.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, when will this extension of grace also be meted all over, so that when these barriers are the ones that are stopping people, and the barriers are more mental. Like you're saying, mothers are fearing because of shame. Then the daughter continues to drink, gets a child. You've not broken the pattern.
Yeah.
Even in other religions, it's even worse, punishable.
I was called by a priest last year from Zambia or Zimbabwe, and he told me, one of those countries, and he told me how bad it is, especially in the convent, and it was so bad that the priests were being taken to Italy for rehab, whereby the sisters were being locked in a room. You see, when the sisters are struggling.
Yes.
So the nuns are being locked in a room so that they can deal with their withdrawals within the room, and then they're taken back to serve. Okay, because it's embarrassing to ship a sister from that part of the world to Italy. She's female and she's a nun.
Yeah.
But the men are being given preferential treatment. You're being moved from this part of the world to Italy for rehab.
And it stems back to the gender roles and how people have perceived women. And they can't, and it's a shame, in quotes. I'm saying they have made it to feel like it is so bad. Yet these people need help just like their male counterparts.
Yeah.
How do we address the stigma? Let's talk about that, because this show is about solutions. This is about talking about overcoming the hurdles. Like you said, you've been sober for a number of years. Is this your fourth?
This is my fourth year.
Your fourth year. It would have been your
My seventh.
You
Gosh,
know?
it would have been my seventh.
that the realities of life.
Yeah.
So that when someone watches a show such as this, it could be a mother who's watching, it could be a father or a guardian, it could be an employer, they can be able to be aware that it is a disease and there's interventions. There are programs that are tailor-made for men and women who are going through substance use disorders, or it could be behavioral. And so where do people start?
I think
How do I know first? Is there a sign
that
that I am having
a drinking
a
problem.
drinking problem? Let's just start from there.
Yeah.
We can list a few of them so that even those who are watching today, many people are in denial. They even don't think that that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like blacking out. Someone will
Yeah.
be like, but that I only blacked out once.
Yeah.
But then a blackout is already a sign.
Yeah. And you don't even know how you got home.
Yes.
You
yes.
don't know. You don't even. You had like the way we're having a conversation, and then in the morning I can't even remember what we spoke about.
Yes. Yes.
And so the simplest thing I normally tell people is called do the CAGE test, CAGE. C stands for cut down. Have you tried? You're already drinking, but have you tried cutting down on your alcohol and you've been unable?
That's already a sign.
That's
that
already a
there's-
sign. And in fact, during occasions, for example, birthdays, funerals, your neighbor's cat in Ushago died, you have decided to increase your alcohol for that period because of the cat. Have you tried to cut down and you've been unable? A stands for anger. Do you get angry at yourself after you drink? Chances are because of the hangover and the withdrawals. Or do people get angry at you? And they've even mentioned it. Carol, you drink too much.
Angry at myself?
At myself and
people
others get
angry at you.
me.
Okay.
G stands for guilt. Do you feel guilty every time you drink? Every time you even have the thought of drinking? Or every time, when you open it, you feel guilty? When you've had 2-3 shots, that guilt goes out the window. Do you feel guilty? Every time you have a drink, or even after, and E stands for eye opener. In Kiswahili, kutoa lock. Do you find yourself having kutoa lock in the morning because of how much alcohol you drank?
Yeah.
If you've answered CAGE, any to the above, then chances are you are already an alcoholic or you're on the highway to alcoholism. Do you know another thing that is shocking me of late in Katha now that I've remembered? That area of where I come from, my little suburbs.
Yes.
Do you know I'm finding people in suits? Like you're going to work. You have a job. And you're going to work and you're at the liquor store having a shot before you go to work.
Yes.
What does that say already?
No, it's someone is already dependent. Such a person, when you ask them, they'll be like, no, this is, in fact, I just passed by the liquor store. It's not every day.
At 7 in the morning,
but there's a problem
on your way to work.
Because they cannot think clearly.
In Africa, we still have, I think, just to answer your question, in Africa, we still have that problem of addiction because many Africans still say you can stop if you want.
Oh.
I used to be told that, Karo, if you want, you'd stop. But how many times did I try? I tried, and even me in my mind, I knew I have a drinking problem, but I thought I would be able to stop. But when I stopped, the tremors, the withdrawals, the shakes are unbelievable. My barman, he even became my barman when I was living in Rongai. I used to call him at 6 in the morning. I tell him, Fungua nakuja. And that time I've lied to HR that G who has died. You know, we kill a lot of people. Me, I killed a lot of people. I killed a lot of people. So you have killed G who, I'm going for a funeral, I don't know where. So I have the day off. So at 6 in the morning, on a work day, I call the guy for the bar, and he opens for me, and I go in. And nowadays, women are carrying vodka in their bags to work. And a majority of women who drink alcohol, hard liquor, of course, they don't take milk tea. So they take black coffee or black tea leaves. And so at 10 o'clock, you put in your expensive vodka, because expensive vodka does not have a smell. And so you put it in your 10 o'clock tea. In the morning, you are passing everybody in the corridor like you've never seen them. After 10, you are
all over the place.
You are working, even asking for more work, you know. And that's where we are. And so for me, I like to use my lived experiences to encourage parents that it's not lost. Me, if there's a case in Katha that people should have given up on was me, what have I not done? From my past stories, I've said it. I've sold doors. I've sold laptops. There's nothing I've not done. I mean, I almost lost my kids to the government. I've done crazy things. My small sister had already seen the dress she was going to wear to my funeral. They had already seen a spot in Langata where I was going to be buried. They were just waiting to be called and told Caro has left. But God remembered my mother's prayers, my father's prayers, their tears, and he remembered mercy, and that's why I'm here. And so I like to encourage people that it's not the end. As long as somebody is still breathing, there's still hope for that person. You know? There's still hope, and God works in mysterious ways. Prayer is also a key factor in my life. And for organizations, I'm actually dealing with a corporate client, a top-tier law firm. And I think there's a problem in that law industry where a lot of lawyers are struggling with alcohol. And so I told them, don't fire people, you know. Get them into rehab, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. If as a corporation you cannot pay for them, cut half of their salary. Half goes into rehab, the other half you pay as an organization. And especially if it is a high-performing employee, don't just release them. But if you see when they've gone into rehab and they come out and they're not functioning, then by all means, let them go.
And also they need to get more education in their spaces. They need to engage the practitioners like yourself. Oh, I know a lot goes on with different organizations having employer packages and a lot of talks because it is not being spoken about enough.
And the reason it's not being spoken about enough is because people still don't see the magnitude.
Until it hits home.
Until it
hits home, you know. There's an African, anyway, I wouldn't laugh at that one, but unless you're the wearer of shoe, unless you have been exposed or you're going through something, then you'll be like, oh my goodness, now I can relate. But we are urging you, you don't have to relate. You can listen to the lived experiences and as a guide, like an amber light saying, hey, to take the best road, avoid, because there is no good story. It is either you end up dead, it's either you end up in institutions or you end up in jail.
Yeah.
Because how many people wish, now we're talking about even at the women prisons in Kenya, how many women wish that they had not drunk or they were not intoxicated, because many crimes have been committed because of being intoxicated. There are just so many negative things that come out of drinking, and alcoholism is progressive, and it ends up in the same way. So in conclusion, what can we urge government, because you are in private sector, we obviously have a government, and they're also at the forefront doing their studies through NACADA, and the latest status report of 2022 had us seeing that women are continuing to be consumers and to be affected by drug and substance abuse. What was more alarming for me was the age of initiation to drugs, that 6 years is the age that children are smoking, 7 alcohol, 8 years other drugs. But where are they learning how to use this? Must be from their environment.
Of course.
It speaks of the status at home or the neighborhood or the community. What can government do? And especially for women, from your perspective, what do you feel that government can do?
Government needs to, if government is listening.
Government is listening.
And I say this with a heavy heart. Government needs to see the magnitude of this problem in this country. They need people like us who've gone through this, who understand this, to be the ones on the ground giving hope to those who already have lost. And for those who are already not struggling, there are also the preventative measures, right? Allow us to get into schools, primary schools, because this is where these dynamics are beginning. We get into primary schools. Government also needs to put in programs where they get into schools, primary schools, start from there, and teach them 101 classes. What is a drug? What is alcohol? What happens to you if you use alcohol? Because where we are in Katha, if we don't start talking to these children from that age, it might be too late. It might be too late. I started talking to my kids. I'm the lived experience of my own children, And so anything they ask about alcohol or drugs, I think they can even teach in school now. And so if the government does not put in those measures to go everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere, and talk to these families, because you could talk to the kids, but the parents are the ones who are using. So it's a loss. They need to reach out to those parents in those machinanis they keep talking about, and start implementing programs right from there. In fact, I think preventative is better than, what is the other one?
There is, prevention.
Prevention
and rehabilitation.
Prevention is key. It's primary.
So there's rehabilitation and there's recovery.
Yeah. So everything, they can do all those programs. For me, I think I do more of a recovery. I prefer doing recovery.
Yes.
Because I know it works.
Yes.
But this government needs to get serious with some of these things, because I don't think they take this matter seriously. We are in a big problem in this country. A big one. It's bigger than what is even being aired on, TV.
Yes.
When you go down to the grassroots, it's ridiculously so worrying and so sad that one voice like mine, one voice like yours, we are not enough. We need backing from those in higher authority within this government to set up whatever they need to set up to reach into the grassroots.
Yeah, I could just add on to what you're saying. What can be more effective as well is support groups, support systems, whereby, say, private sector takes responsibility, the civil societies, communities, and it can be deliberate, even the media, because I know media, they air what they've been paid to air, but you can just decide, you know what, the way things are going, we don't we see it going so well because of alcohol and drugs. Why don't we do public service announcements and
Yes.
just be responsible and start airing messaging that can prevent or can urge people to seek recovery? And I believe voices do matter. Your voice, my voice, other people's voices.
Yeah.
In conclusion, I'm so excited about a global recovery support group I came across the other day. I think they're in their 4th series. They've been doing it online, and I believe they're launching sometime in June in an event that will be in Greece at a place called Thessaloniki.
Okay.
And it's a conference organized by international substance use providers, International Society of Substance Use.
ISAP.
Yeah, substance use professionals. And it is called Art of Healing. I like what they are doing because they are focusing on the recovery component, and they are also focusing or have focused on lived experiences, so that from a global perspective we can see what can people with lived experiences who are working in their communities, in their homes, in their societies, how can they also be instrumental in addressing these challenges that many people face. And I want to just commend you and continue encouraging you in what you're doing. We say, even if it is that one person whose life is changed, I look at my life and how God also saved me about 7 years ago, and the many things that have happened because of the call over my life. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if there's someone who's listening here today and their life gets transformed and they can go spread the fire somewhere, say even it could be in Colombia, someone is listening and they're in Croatia, I don't know why I'm speaking on Asia, but imagine the impact. Yeah. So we should never give up. They say, if there's a saying that if you can't beat them, join them, but we're not going to say that. We're saying if they are not listening, create your own path and they will follow.
Yes.
So we really hope all hands can be on deck by everybody, from the family to the government to communities, so that we can make this place a better place for children. Because if we don't break cycles, then we're going to experience the same. Finally, there's this, they're calling it baby girl treatment. Baby girl, I met a young man yesterday. He's in recovery. He's had such an experience with so many drugs, had drugs and all. And he was saying, but women have it easy. A woman just needs to dress up and her drinks are sorted for the night.
True.
If you dress right, it doesn't matter at the club if the age, you have to be 18. As long as you look good and you look nice, you get in. And there's people readily willing to buy you the drinks. And that's what's happening out here. You've seen, of recent past, many people, there was a highlight of some unaliving that was going on. And when you look at the conversations, most of them was a plan for hooking up. And it's mostly, oh, can we meet for drinks? Or you're meeting up in the club, If you remove alcohol or substances that interfere with how you make decisions, interferes with everything in terms of cognition, I believe it could be a step in the best direction for an individual.
That's true.
But it has to come from you.
Yeah.
Parting shot, where they can find you?
Parting shot, you can find me on my social media handles. Oh, I do have an office now. I'm based at Cabernet Road. That is next to the Nursing Society of Kenya. On my social media handles, I am Facebook, Caroline Kagia. Facebook again, Caroline Kagia Wellness Initiative. TikTok, where am I on TikTok? Caroline Kagia 1.
Is there two?
No, I don't know why it's called 1, but anyway.
Yeah.
And I do corporate engagements. I speak in churches. I speak everywhere, literally.
Yes.
So if you want to engage me, you may write me an email, carolinekagiawellness@gmail.com. My mobile numbers. Wow.
Do you give those out?
Let's stick to email and my social media
Because
handles.
at times the conversation changes.
Yes.
Someone might have seen a wife,
Oh, well. But just for the sake, let me give my number. You may reach me 0757 576 980 0757 576 980.
Wow.
Serious business calls
Wow. Wow.
only. Yes.
Wow. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wow. Oh, viewers, thank you so much for tuning in on this episode. I would want to encourage you who's watching today. You could be a woman, you are a mother or a wife. As long this is a women's show today, for today, I want you to remember you're wonderfully and beautifully made. You are the one who can. You ought to be your number one cheerleader. Don't be influenced by other factors around you, because when you're secure in yourself, then you will not be influenced to do things. Most people get into drugs and substance abuse because of influence, either in the environment they are, a friendship. And imagine if you knew yourself, no unajiamini, then that would not be the case. You would be able to stand ground and say, you know what, I live a sober life. I don't want to get into using substances to make myself feel better or fit in. And that's would be the great thing to do. And if there's any of you who needs help, we've heard from our guest Caroline Kagia. You can reach out to her. You can also reach out to us. We can be able to link you up with the help that you will need. Professionals, we also will stand in prayer with you, and we wish you all the best. I want to stand on the scripture that comes from Jeremiah 17:14, and this is for those people who have looked at CAGE. You know, we've been told about CAGE, and you've said yes to all of them. I believe in healing. God is able to save us, and that Jeremiah 17:14 says, "Heal me, O Lord, and I'll be healed. Save me, I will be saved, and I will give you all the praise." And with that, until next time, God loves you, we love you, and stay blessed.